Discover the incredible transformation, CEO's shocking bet with a single dad janitor revealed. Tom's worn hands clenched the janitorial cart as he pushed through the vast, echoing halls of the university, the morning sun pouring through tall windows, illuminating the dust swirling in the air. To the professors, he was merely the janitor, an invisible part of the academic machinery. But he was also Mia's dad, a brilliant, 10-year-old science enthusiast who believed her father was a superhero, even if the world didn't. Every day was a painstaking reminder of societal disdain, and with each swipe of his mop, he felt the weight of unfulfilled dreams pressing down on his back. Could cleaning lecture halls ever equate to extracting breakthroughs in science? Didn't his choices deserve a deeper recognition? Across town, Evan sat at the sleek glass table of his tech startup, his mind racing in tandem with the bold ambitions of his company. Despite his accolades and the glamour of success shining around him, unease gnawed at him like a parasite. His team was disheartened, their potential locked behind the glass facade of his office. And it wasn't just their doubts, his own insecurity buzzed louder than any conference call. Was he truly a leader, or just someone fortunate enough to ride the wave of success? The disparity of wealth pressed heavily on him. He dreamt of change, yet felt powerless, isolated in a world that adored the superficial while scorned the real struggles just outside his polished door. That day, Evan stumbled upon Tom in the dusty lecture hall. The janitor was immersed in his ritual of tidying, a fierce determination etched on his engaged face. Intrigued by the quiet tenacity, Evan felt a flicker of hope. How about a bet? He proposed impulsively, sensing the desperation that connected them. You help my team find their worth, and I'll take your job for a week. The words hung in the air, laden with unspoken fears and possibilities. Tom hesitated. Why me? A bitter throaty laugh escaped Evan's lips. Because you see what's beneath the surface. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tom's heart raced with conflicting emotions. Was this the opportunity he had been yearning for, or just another fleeting escape from the rigors of reality? His mind swirled with visions of Mia, her bright smile, and her unyielding belief in his potential, igniting a flicker of resolve. However, that flame was snuffed out by fresh doubts. Could he truly provide insights to a team of educated professionals grappling with technology's challenges? As they swapped roles, Tom's grit revitalized Evan's lethargic team, unveiling a world of communal experiences that transcended job titles. Yet, Evan, immersed in Tom's world, faced judgment and disenchantment he'd only ever read about. Their connection deepened, yet the walls they built fostered lingering anxieties. Just when it seemed they might break through, the threat loomed larger: a financial crisis at Evan's startup. The stress needle sharpened, demanding decisions that seemed impossible. As deadlines approached, pressures mounted. Tom gazed across the campus, feeling both small and colossal, questioning what it meant to redefine success while being tethered to his reality. But just as hope flickered in the air, the boardroom doors slammed open. A figure from Evan's past stepped in, bringing chaos, threatening everything they had fought to build. As Tom stood on the precipice of self-discovery, and Evan faced the ghost of his ambition, the moment hung heavy with unspoken fears and the profound realization that they might not overcome the very expectations they had tried to outrun. Would they dare to embrace their newfound truths, or would the weight of their worlds crush them both? Tom inhaled the familiar scent of floor polish, a sudden reminder that he stood at the cusp of something monumental. The boardroom doors had barely closed behind Evan and the shadowy figure of his past that had barged in when Tom felt the tremor of uncertainty tighten around his chest. He rushed through his mind, processing their new reality. It was no longer just about taking on Evan's corporate challenge. Now, an unforeseen threat loomed, one that could dismantle both their aspirations. He's just a janitor, Tom reminded himself, grappling with the dissonance of his new role against the backdrop of Evan's entangled corporate tension. Yet with each passing hour, hope stirred inside him. Could he really leverage his life experiences to guide Evan's team toward enlightenment? Maybe the skills honed through years of cleaning up after others could translate into something more. As he stirred his thoughts during a break in a nearby cafe, the clattering of pots and hushed discussions buzzed around him. He was no stranger to solitude, but this was different. Every face he met seemed to look through him, a reminder of past struggles and how society colored perceptions. When had transcendence turned into invisibility? His gaze landed on a small group engaged in animated conversation, a young woman passionately explaining a science concept, sharing insights without hesitation. Tom leaned in, catching elements of confidence that he realized he hadn't felt in years. He began to draw connections between her excitement and his daughter Mia's whimsical questions, both fueled by a thirst for knowledge. What if he channeled that same tenacity into helping Evan's team? The next day, sitting across from Evan in a chaotic conference room filled with anxiety-laden faces, Tom chose his words deliberately. "You talk so much about leadership and vision," he began, voice steady despite the whirling doubts inside. "But what if the real strength lies in listening to your team? What if you put your faith in their ideas, rather than shoving your concepts down their throats?" Evan raised an eyebrow, surprised but intrigued. He saw the flicker of potential in Tom's posture and words. A man who had been living at the margins suddenly stood tall, challenge etched across his features. "So, how do we start?" Evan asked, heart racing with a newfound urgency, a wish to break free from the suffocating confines of expectation. "Let us redefine our successes," Tom proposed. "Instead of chasing metrics, we work on collaboration, harnessing the strengths of each individual. Individuals who feel valued will outperform the expected." Evan nodded slowly, digesting Tom's suggestions. Could a janitor truly spark a revolution in his company? It was a long shot, but part of that same unease that clawed at him sparked a glimmer of hope. The following weeks felt surreal as Tom immersed deeper into corporate culture, learning the ropes while unveiling layers of Evan's team. They met challenges with surprising agility, unraveling ordinary problems through thoughtful, unconventional solutions. Moments of clarity began to arise, revealing talents he hadn't realized he possessed: strategic thinking, a knack for problem-solving, a deep understanding of human insecurities. But as progress surged, unrest brewed at the edges. Evan's past confronted them again, as whispers of mismanagement encroached, fracturing the trust weaving through the team. Not only did Tom and Evan face skepticism from peers, but now they also contended with their insecurities. As the tension mounted, the stakes rose. What if they failed? Would their attempts at bridging worlds collapse under the weight of expectation? Just before closing a critical presentation, the shadowy figure from Evan's past re-emerged, sowing discord with insinuations of deceit and dishonesty. The air thickened, charged with the question neither Tom nor Evan wanted to confront. In that moment, they stood on the edge of revelation. The time had come to face not only their doubts but also the possibility that their collaboration might redefine their very identities. Would they choose to step into the light of possibility, or retreat amidst the disarray of their fractured ambitions? The atmosphere in the boardroom thickened, a palpable tension weaving between Tom and Evan, with the oppressive shadow from Evan's past looming larger than ever. Tom could feel the weight of expectations press down on him like an iron fist, and yet, a flicker of determination ignited within him. If this was truly a moment of reckoning, he wouldn't hide in the corners anymore, he would confront it head-on. "Tom," Evan's voice pulled him from his thoughts, urgency threading through each syllable, "do you think we can trust the team with what is going on? If the rumors are true, we could lose everything." The query hung in the air, challenging Tom to reflect on their shared vision. He realized now that their credibility was tethered to unity. Trust doesn't come from power plays or empty promises. It stems from honesty. If we lay it all on the table, we may just turn this around. Evan nodded, but doubt clouded his eyes. Tom recognized the fragility in that moment. They were teetering on the knife's edge between apprehension and resolve. The next morning, they presented their proposal at an all-hands meeting, an unusual level of transparency swirling through the room. Tom felt the tangible connection among the team as he spoke, igniting embers of hope alongside apprehension. Today, we face our challenges together, exposing the truths lurking beneath the surface. His voice trembled, but not with fear, it resonated with authenticity, a battle cry meant to rally them not to a cause but towards each other. As he scanned the faces before him, some hardened with skepticism, others eager for engagement, he pressed on. Your ideas matter. Your experiences and talents are crucial in crafting our way forward. We need to listen to each other, not just to echo the louder voices. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a blend of surprise and curiosity sparking from their usual wariness. It wasn't just Tom's words, it was the sincerity with which he spoke that drew them in. As he shared snippets of his journey, the trials of raising Mia alone, the lessons learned from countless jobs that often left him feeling invisible, he caught glimpses of recognition among his peers. They had all faced their shadows, battled their own demons. After the meeting, one of the quietest members of the team, a man named Frank, approached Tom. You got guts, you know. I've watched you just sweep floors. Don't know how you're doing it now. Tom made eye contact, forcing a smile that masked the swell of gratitude inside him. Cleaning floors taught me a lot about what really matters. It's like seeing the world through a different lens. We all have stories worth sharing. Days turned into weeks, each meeting binding Tom and the team closer. But unrest lingered. Despite their open discussions, the whispers of betrayal festered, spiraling into public forums and behind closed doors. The shadowy figure resurfaced, seeding doubts about Evan's leadership in subtle, insidious ways. Each morning, Tom awoke with the gnawing sensation that they were repeatedly on the brink of discovery or disaster. Evan brought the latest controversy to Tom one evening, his hands revoltingly tense. What do you think? Should we confront this head-on or play it safe? Tom leaned back, feeling the weight of the decision. Playing it safe feels like stagnation. We've built something here, running scared one T protect it. He felt the instinct rising in him, a yearning to protect their budding collaboration. They needed to lean into this time of uncertainty. The fire igniting within him pushed him forward. Let us confront this. Together. Evan's eyes narrowed, a hint of a smile teasing the edge of his lips. Then it settled. We go full force. But behind that commitment, a whisper of trepidation fluttered, a realization that diving into confrontation could unravel not just the project but everything they had crafted. Could they withstand the storm, or were they dangerously underestimating the depths of betrayal that had surfaced? As Tom turned to leave the office, his fingers brushing against the cool metal of the door handle, a sudden, chilling thought gripped him. What if this time he couldn't save them from the impending disaster? The moment caught in his throat, looming larger than they thought. The next chapter awaited, and it promised not only to test their newfound alliances but to challenge Tom's belief in himself and his ability to rise amidst chaos. The buzzing atmosphere in the office felt charged as teams gathered in their respective corners, some exchanging nervous glances while others whispered speculations. Tom paced softly, absorbing the intensity of anticipation and anxiety that hung in the air. He was no longer just a part of the fabric, he was emerging as a vital thread, now intertwined with the future of the organization. Evan stood at the center of the room, attempting to harness the energy. We know the fabrications are damaging, he began, his voice wavering slightly. We're here to clarify, to stand firm together. As Evan spoke, Tom scrutinized him closely. There was a sincerity in his expression but also a flicker of vulnerability, like the previous weight hadn't entirely dissipated. It reminded Tom of the fragile steps he had taken early in his professional journey, the hesitation before declaring vision and ambition, an echo of his past life as a janitor feeling invisible in the sea of corporate giants. The clock on the wall ticked ominously, each second intensifying doubts entrenched in the minds of the team. Should he take the plunge to elevate his involvement further without stepping on Evan's toes or betraying the trust he had painstakingly built? The inner tension coaxed him toward action. "Can I speak?" The words left Tom's mouth before the apprehensions could fully settle. The astonished faces turned toward him, some surprised by the sudden emergence from a typically silent observer. Evan nodded, a hint of curiosity igniting in his eyes. "Look, I get it. There's fear in the air." Tom took a deep breath, allowing the vulnerability to push through the barriers he had built around his own hesitations. "But I also see potential. We have the skills and dedication to weather any storm, regardless of how dark it seems now." Seeking to connect with his colleagues, he gestured to the various members of the team. The developers, the designers, each had their struggles faced silently in their corners until now. "I felt like an outsider," he continued, planting his feet as he spoke, "but the truth is, every person here has fought against their own demons. And that's not a weakness but a strength." Muffled reactions rippled through the group. He sensed a shift, an awakening that the open dialogue he had championed was creating. Small gestures of recognition began surfacing: nods, smiles, and whispers of agreement. "Let us address our fears openly," Tom said, his voice steadier than before. "We're all part of this ship, and if we're going to steer it, we have to face the waves together. Only then will we harness the collective potential that brought us here in the first place." Evan glanced at Tom again, visibly impressed. "I appreciate that, Tom. Your perspective is essential." The lightened atmosphere buzzed with newfound energy, fueling a brainstorming discussion that followed. They tackled the concerns at hand. Trust began to build as their collaboration manifested into tangible concept strategies that combined vulnerability and tenacity. However, beneath the camaraderie brewed an undercurrent of tension, a reminder that the shadow of betrayal loomed outside the door. At the end of the meeting, Tom felt a swelling pride not just for leading a discussion that bridged gaps but for embracing a role that had begun to define him. He had transformed from an invisible janitor to a recognized contributor. Yet fragments of doubt lingered as he wondered about the wolves in sheep's clothing hidden behind the facade of collaboration. Later that evening, as he mulled over the day's events, he found himself at a crossroads. The momentum was palpable. But the louder question gnawed at him: had they truly unified, or merely brushed the surface of deeper fissures? Were they gathering strength, or merely delaying the inevitable crumbling? The flickering street lamps cast shadows across his living room wall, throwing shapes that mimicked the chaos within. Tomorrow would demand more courage, and beneath every action loomed an underestimation of unseen motives. As he locked eyes with his reflection in the window, he wondered what secrets might shatter this fragile equilibrium. With that thought hanging in the air, the winds of change whispered ominously outside, suggesting that the next confrontation could rewrite everything: his perception of leadership, their trust, or possibly both. A new revelation awaited, and he was about to plunge deeper into uncertainty. Would he be ready to safeguard the people he had begun to call allies, or would he falter at the brink? The next day dawned with a gray hue that matched Tom's mood. He stepped into the office, heart racing as he recalled the impact of his words from the previous meeting. The walls seemed to pulse with expectation, yet apprehension clung to him like a heavy coat. Each interaction felt heightened, every glance felt charged with unspoken questions. Had he overstepped? And if so, at what cost? As the team assembled again, Tom took a seat near the edge of the conference table. He was keenly aware of his position once at the periphery, no longer lurking outside the circle, but perhaps still too tentative to be a real player at the heart of their actions. Evan walked in, wearing an expression of resolve blended with a touch of vulnerability, reminiscent of the emotional landscape they had traversed before. "All right, everyone," Evan began, showcasing a semblance of confidence that seemed to comfort the group. "Let us get right to the chase. We have a lot to discuss. The management wants to know how we plan to combat the recent rumors." Tom felt a surge of adrenaline. This was his moment to contribute meaningfully, to build upon the solidarity he had invoked last time. With every ounce of courage, he spoke up. In tackling this, we should focus on our strengths and emphasize our transparency. We need a proactive approach, messages sent out, team efforts highlighted. His words stumbled out, almost faster than he could organize them, but they resonated with clarity once spoken. Evan's brow furrowed slightly as he considered Tom's suggestions, nodding. Good. But we need specifics. What action items can we pull together quickly? In their brainstorming session, a sense of camaraderie stirred slowly. Ideas flowed, bouncing around the table with the nervous energy of each individual pouring their thoughts into the pot. Yet, as the dialogue progressed, Tom's gaze drifted toward Amanda and Greg, two team members who had been noticeably silent. He suspected suspicions simmered beneath their quiet facade, their presence a stark reminder of the shadows of betrayal Thomas had noted previously. Perhaps we should also open the floor to everyone's thoughts, Tom ventured, gauging the room's atmosphere. A few affirmative glances encouraged him, while others appeared hesitant. Each of us sees the situation through unique lenses. Including voices that Haven T had a chance to speak can strengthen our position. A murmur of agreement mixed with uncertainty followed. He could see Evan weighing the decision, and Tom felt the urge to press ahead. No one should feel like an outsider anymore. We need to know we're all in this together. Evan hesitated, then gave a slight nod. All right. Let us hear from everyone. Time ticked by as members offered their insights, creating a rich tapestry of thoughts, yet Amanda's silence was palpable and resistance prickled along Tom's spine. She had always been a stabilizing presence, a barometer for the team's collective morale. When it was her turn, she spoke hesitantly, choosing her words with precision. I think we could develop a communication plan that not only addresses the current issues, but also rebuilds employee morale. We need reassurance, and our audience needs to see that we're solid as a team. Tom met her eyes, sensing their mutual understanding. It was then that he realized a deeper connection was beginning to form, driven by underlying trust that had clearly lifted the team's spirit. However, the lurking doubt still loomed. Could they truly bridge the divide that had been created in such a short span? The meeting continued, ideas sparking and generating momentum, yet Tom couldn't shake the unease that lingered like a low cloud. His newfound confidence was budding, but so too was an impending belief that their united front was being tested. This realization both terrified and exhilarated him. As the discussion wound down, Evan asked for someone to take charge of the action items. An instant of profound silence settled over the group, eyes darting between each other, assessing. Tom took a breath, his heart pounding. Was he ready to take the lead? Would embracing this role truly unite them, or would it pierce through lingering secrets that could unravel everything? I'll do it, he declared, the finality shocking him as the words cascaded out. I'll oversee the action plan. We'll make sure all voices are included. With those words, an invisible line had shifted, placing Tom squarely in the crosshairs of opportunity and conflict. He was at the forefront now, yet reality bore down harshly. It was not just a professional step-up but a personal one. Trust, he understood now, required vigilance, a truth that came at a cost. What would this path reveal about himself and those he hoped to protect? The time had come for Tom to confront not just workplace challenges but the fears lurking inside of him, the hidden facets that could redefine his journey. As worry gnawed at him, he felt a chilling certainty. Despite this boost in confidence, the worst was yet to come. Would he emerge with his integrity intact, or would he risk shattering everything he had built? Tom spent the rest of the day in a haze, the weight of his decision gnawing at him. The newfound responsibility felt like both a badge of honor and a looming threat, intertwining the thrill of leadership with the risk of failure. He huddled at his desk, scrutinizing each action item with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Reports piled up, and he felt the clock tick louder with every passing minute. What began as hope transformed into dread as he weighed formulas of success against the potential for chaos. He believed in the team and their ideas, yet self-doubt crept in, gnashing its teeth. What if he faltered? The thought of Amanda and Greg silent, seemingly judgmental haunted him. They had chosen to stay quiet for a reason, perhaps they didn't trust him. As the hours stretched on, he began to formulate a plan. He scribbled notes for clear communication channels and set deadlines for updates. He needed a strategy that empowered others, but more importantly, he needed to project confidence not just to the team, but to himself. The floundering boy who so often lurked at the edges couldn't lead them now. After work, Tom caught up with Evan, hoping to shore up his confidence. They slipped into a nearby coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans mingling with a casual chatter that felt soothing against his anxiety-ridden mind. Tom detailed his thoughts and strategies, each word more assured than the last. To his surprise, Evan listened, pausing to ask questions that pushed Tom to refine his ideas even further. "That's solid, Tom. You really care about what they think." "That will help in the long run," Evan remarked, a smile creeping on his face. Yet, there was an undercurrent in his voice, unspoken yet palpable. Tom sensed a challenge behind Evan's praise. He needed to translate that support into action. The next day, the meeting atmosphere was charged. Tom stood at the forefront, armed with the groundwork he had laid out meticulously. He presented enthusiastically, ensuring every teammate had a chance to respond and guide the conversation. "Let us adjust as needed, this is all of our project," he emphasized, looking at Amanda, who seemed taken aback by the transformation in him. Yet, beneath that encouraging demeanor, questions clutched at Tom's gut. What lay behind the veil of Amanda's hesitation? Her every nod felt both encouraging and confusing. Did she think his actions could set the wrong tone? Her uncertainty danced like a puppet on strings of his anxiety. Midway through the session, Greg stirred, brow furrowed with suspicion. "You speak as if everything is on the up and up, but can we trust the information we're pushing out? There's so much negativity in the air." Tom's heart sank. "Trust is built, Greg," he shot back, the words flowing from him with unexpected conviction. "But it starts with transparency, doesn't it? We need to be open." The room tensed, his defiance hanging like a heavy shadow. As he met Greg's eyes, a nervous tension pulsed, igniting an inner dialogue within him. Was this a personal confrontation? Would his resolve crumble at the first crack? He took a moment, swallowed hard, and pressed forward. "Let us discuss concerns, address them head-on. Hiding won't fix our credibility." The dialogue morphed into a cataclysm of thoughts. Ideas bounced back and forth, unveiling fears buried within them. Simultaneously, Tom felt unleashed yet exposed, like climbing to a ledge with no support beneath. At the end, a long pause greeted him. The rest of the team stared, uncertainty clouding the air. While hope flickered in the dialogue, so did insecurities. Tom concluded the session with an ask: "Let us meet tomorrow to revisit and re-strategize based on our discussion. Each of you has a voice, it's time for the echoes to become a chorus." Tom left the room with a sense of possibility tinged with apprehension. Was he truly prepared for this? A feeling of profound responsibility weighed on him, yet anticipation surged, fueling his resolve. But the following evening, as he laid in bed, doubts crept back. Attempts to consolidate. The team seemed progressively harder. What could he say tomorrow to ensure their commitment? Would the solicited openness foster true trust, or merely expose them to more vulnerability? The quiet in his mind was ominous, and in that stillness, he knew, the harder fight was yet to come, not just with the team but within himself. He sensed an impending confrontation with Amanda, a dance of distrust he hadn't expected. Who was he becoming, and would this evolution lead to triumph or reveal deeper fractures that could threaten everything they had worked for? That thought clung to him like a shadow as he slipped into sleep, uncertain road ahead whispering possibilities that could unravel or redeem him. The morning light spilled into Tom's apartment, too bright and accusatory. He stared at the ceiling, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in the wind. The shadow of doubt still loomed large, pulsating in rhythm with his anxious heartbeat. Today was crucial. The meeting loomed before him, a promise of potential trepidation. As he dressed, the mirror revealed more than just a reflection, it showed a man caught in a tumultuous internal struggle. He adjusted his tie, pulling it tight, willing himself to exude authority even if it was something he didn't yet feel. He made a mental note to consciously project confidence, a simple pledge that spiraled into an intricate pact as he took a deep, steadying breath. Arriving at the office, Tom felt an electric charge in the air, each coworker's demeanor amplifying his own tension. He glanced at Amanda and Greg as they entered the room. Their expressions veered between curiosity and skepticism, an ambiguous mix that mirrored his own feelings. Could they see through his facade? Did they sense his turbulence bubbling beneath the surface? "Good morning, everyone," he started, striding toward the head of the conference table, his voice resonating with determined clarity. The team turned expectantly. "Let us circle back to the ideas shared yesterday, adjusting our strategies based on your concerns. I want your thoughts today, your voice matters." Tom felt the weight of those words, they felt heavy yet liberating. He kept his gaze steady, locking eyes with Amanda, whose determination tangled with uncertainty. But he realized he could empower himself and them simultaneously, a high-stakes gamble. Greg disrupted the silence, his eyebrows lingering in a frown. "You still haven't addressed those data inaccuracies that were flagged last week. How do we know further issues won't derail us?" Tom's heart raced, but he welcomed the challenge. "We need to tackle this together," he articulated with conviction. "I'll put together a team to delve into the data, identify inaccuracies, and clarify our narrative before we present it outside. If we're transparent when we acknowledge mistakes, we'll build credibility. What if we stumble? What if we dig ourselves deeper?" Amanda interjected, her voice tentative yet laced with urgency. "Isn't it safer to stay quiet until we fix things?" "Staying quiet is a gamble too," Tom countered, his pulse quickening, the vulnerability tearing down barriers he had so carefully erected. "It's a risk that undermines our integrity. If we present a facade of perfection, we'll only amplify the distrust." His resolve wavered for a split second. What if he wasn't ready for the openness he was advocating? Opening the floor, Tom could feel the hesitant stirrings of the team. It took only a moment before others shared their concerns. Ideas collided and sparked an animated discussion. The energy shifted, their initial reservations dissolving into something more constructive, less critical. As the conversation progressed, he caught sight of Amanda's expression evolving from skepticism to engagement. A sliver of hope unfurled within him. He realized he was not only leading but transforming too, unearthing that part of him that sought to genuinely connect with others, fostering an atmosphere of collaboration rather than competition. The session drew to a close, and Tom felt a sense of accomplishment swell in his chest. As he gathered his belongings, he noticed Amanda lingering, a storm brewing in her eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice steady yet soft. The air tensed with potential vulnerability. What could she reveal that would either fortify or unravel what he had started? Tom steeled himself, knowing this important moment could either fortify his newfound resolve or plunge him back into insecurity. "Of course," he managed, a part of him brimming with apprehension as he followed her outside the conference room. As they walked into the quieter part of the office, Tom felt a mix of trepidation and excitement. What awaited him in this conversation? Would it serve as a step toward unity or challenge his competency starkly? With each step, doubt flickered like a faulty light bulb. Might this be the dialogue that could shape his future and the team's forever? As they moved into a secluded corner of the office, Tom's mind raced with possibilities. Amanda's demeanor suggested urgency, and he braced himself for whatever she had to say. What if she questioned his leadership further? Or worse, what if she shattered the fragile confidence he had fought to build? "Amanda, I appreciate your support during the meeting," he began, attempting to calm the brewing apprehension. "Your insights are invaluable as we navigate these challenges." She hesitated, her gaze averted, staring at her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Tom, I want to be candid with you. That meeting, while it felt positive, was fraught with potential pitfalls. You didn't address Greg's concerns about the data adequately. What if our credibility takes a hit? His stomach nodded, a seed of doubt he had hoped to quell blossomed again. You're right. I need to be more thorough. But I also want to foster a culture where we can speak openly about our problems rather than hiding them. Amanda looked up, her expression shifting slightly. That's admirable, but you need to ensure you can hold your ground when the chips are down. It's about showing you're not just a figurehead. We need a leader we can trust completely. Her words struck him with unexpected force. It wasn't just about the data or the team dynamics, it was about the deep-seated belief in himself and his capabilities. I understand, he said, the weight of Amanda's honesty settling in his chest like a stone. But there is something you should know: I don't have all the answers. His voice lowered, an honest admission flowing from his self-reflection. I'm figuring this out as we go along, just like everyone else. I need your help to navigate this uncertainty. For a moment, Amanda's surprise overshadowed her apprehensions. You're more self-aware than I expected, Tom, she admitted, her tone softening. That's a strength not many leaders can acknowledge their flaws. There's an art to it, he replied, encouraged by her tone. I've worked hard to hone my ability to confront challenges, but it's overwhelming at times. I can't do it alone. She stepped closer, the conversation evolving into a genuine moment of connection, a break in the corporate armor. Maybe I'm not as confident as I want to appear either, she said, lowering her voice. We all question our capabilities internally. It can be suffocating. Tom sensed a shared vulnerability, a glimpse into Amanda's own struggles and insecurities. You can trust me, it's okay to express uncertainty. We can work together on this. A flicker of understanding ignited between them, and suddenly the wall that had existed in the office seemed to melt away. They were not just colleagues anymore, the dialogue shifted to partnership. As they wrapped up their conversation, Tom felt lighter. Let us schedule some time to analyze the data together. I want to ensure we're equipped for the next meeting. You have insight on the data I don't, and that's critical for our success. Amanda nodded, hope dawning in her eyes where doubt once resided. I'd like that. As she turned to leave, Tom watched her retreating form, his heart pounding with renewed energy. He felt empowered not merely by the resolution of the conversation itself but by the realization that proactive communication could ignite trust and foster collaboration. Returning to his desk, he couldn't shake the feeling that a new chapter had begun. He acknowledged a shift within himself, a conviction to not only embrace vulnerability but embrace the audacity it took to lead. But just as he settled into this newfound sense of purpose, an email notification appeared on his screen. The subject line chilled him to the bone: urgent, data summary review required immediately. What had he missed? The urgency of the request echoed in his mind like foreboding thunder. The next steps felt weighty and uncertain, demanding clarity. Tom's heart raced. The looming challenge was not just about data anymore. It was about facing what lay beneath, it was about making choices that might define him. The moment to confront the very essence of his integrity had arrived. Tom stared at the screen, his heart pounding as the implications of the email sunk in. The words, data summary review required immediately, echoed in his mind, each one a reminder of his need to step up. It wasn't just a request, it was an invitation to confront uncertainties head-on. He felt the stakes rising. This wasn't merely about numbers, it was about his ability to lead a team that depended on him. He opened the email, scanning the contents for clarity, but the details were vague. A heavy dread settled around him as he realized that the summary was due for a presentation that afternoon. He had less than 3 hours to gather insights that would bolster his credibility after Amanda's pointed feedback. Surrounded by the familiar clutter of his desk, he gripped the mouse tightly, willing himself to act. A whirlwind of thoughts cascaded through his mind. He had to address Greg's concerns regarding the data, demonstrate competence, and still maintain the culture of openness that he valued. But a nagging thought persisted: was he prepared to handle the scrutiny? Amanda's words about being a trustworthy leader echoed sharply, reminding him that honesty and transparency were his allies. Without hesitation, Tom picked up the phone and called Amanda. There was no time for uncertainty, he needed to act, but he couldn't do it alone. "Amanda, I just received an urgent data review request," he said as soon as she answered, urgency threading through his voice. "Can we tackle this together?" "Of course," she replied immediately. "I'm in. Let us meet in the conference room." The prospect of collaboration invigorated him. He gripped at this momentum, refusing to succumb to doubt. As he made his way to the conference room, an unexpected realization struck him: this challenge, rather than being a burden, was a focal point for his development. When Amanda arrived, her energy mirrored his. They quickly spread out the reports on the table, methodically highlighting important figures, risks, and opportunities that had previously escaped his notice. It felt different. The dialogue flowed easily, no longer tense with apprehension. "Here's where I think Greg's concern lies," Amanda pointed out, tapping a specific section of the report. "If we don't provide solid context for this, it could undermine our credibility. Our narrative has to be clear." Tom absorbed her insights, feeling each piece align with his own understanding. This was no longer just about him. Each interaction refined his leadership, each discussion pried open hidden talents within himself and Amanda. "I see it now. We need to emphasize how our recommendations are evidence-based to strengthen our position," he proposed, excitement building. Their collaboration sparked new ideas, and the minutes turned into a productive rhythm of brainstorming. As the clock ticked down, Tom realized that he was moving with purpose, a quality he desperately sought to embody. Moments before their presentation, he paused, realizing that the confidence he now felt wasn't just an illusion. He was assembling a framework that exemplified vulnerability while affirming his role as a decisive leader. As they stepped into the meeting room filled with their peers and intimidating senior executives, he felt a collective energy swell around them. This was the moment. He had a chance to convey the narrative Amanda had helped him shape. But as he prepared to present, a faint voice inside him whispered fears of failure mingled with aspirations of success. The questions he planned to answer hung in the air, waiting patiently, but so did the larger question: was he ready to finally share the authentic leader he was becoming? Just as he took a breath to speak, a sudden shift in the atmosphere caught his attention. The door swung open with unexpected force, and Greg stormed in, his expression darkened by urgency. "Tom, we need to talk now." What had he done? What revelation was coming? A palpable tension had evaporated the moment of confidence he had built, and Tom braced himself for what lay ahead. As Tom stood in front of his assembled colleagues, Greg's unexpected entrance sent a jolt of anxiety through him. He had built momentum, poised to showcase the insights he and Amanda developed together. Now, faced with the possibility of an impending crisis, the air thickened with apprehension. "Greg, what's wrong?" Tom asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. Greg stepped forward, a palpable urgency etched on his features. "There are bigger issues at play than we thought. I just received word that our competitor is pushing a narrative that could undermine our data credibility. They're pointing fingers at us in public forums." The room fell silent, eyes flitting between Tom and Greg. Could everything they had worked on come crashing down because of another company's machinations? The fear coursing through him was immediate and visceral. He thought of how far they'd come only to be threatened by external forces. "Do we have any allies we can reach out to?" Tom pressed, knowing they had to be proactive. "Yes, but they need a compelling counter-narrative to support us," Greg replied, his tone softened slightly. "That's why I came to you. You have the ability to reach out. Everyone respects you now, Tom." Those words landed heavily on Tom, a quiet acknowledgement of how he had evolved within the company. He felt pride swell inside him at the recognition but also overwhelming pressure. To be seen as a leader meant responsibility, and he couldn't afford to let fear undermine everything he had built. "Let us declare our strategy now," Tom said, determination supplanting doubt. "We need transparency, and we can't afford to wait. Amanda, you and I will create a comprehensive response addressing not only the allegations but also reinforcing our data's credibility." They exchanged a knowing glance, an unspoken understanding that collaboration had forged a new ground for their team. Greg nodded in agreement, the tension in his body easing. "I'll handle communication with the allies. We can rally support quickly." "Good. We'll detail the data's context and ensure everyone sees the bigger picture," Tom declared, his voice rising to confirm leadership. "But we must also address any discrepancies proactively." With a collective sense of urgency, they all got to work, poring over numbers, context, and strategies. Tom found himself leading the narrative, each piece falling into place, where once uncertainty had threatened to engulf him. In that corner of the conference room, he no longer felt like the janitor, he was a strategist, a respected voice that inspired trust and confidence among his peers. As the minutes ticked away, tangible energy surged within the group. Tom harnessed that momentum, actively inviting input from the rest of the team. With a final flourish, Tom presented their response in the board meeting, his earlier trepidation replaced with clarity. He articulated the crisis, underscoring not just the strengths of their data but the passion and collaboration that had forged the team he now led. "Together, we faced challenges that many organizations hide from. Our authenticity is our strength," he exclaimed, his confidence unwavering. After the meeting, applause rippled through the room, a standing ovation that felt like a physical embrace of acknowledgement and validation. It was the affirmation that not only had he mastered the technical aspects of his role, but he had also internalized the very essence of leadership, to bring people together, embracing each vulnerability while guiding them through chaos. He saw Amanda's eyes glimmer with pride, he could sense the strength of trust woven into their working relationship. Conversations continued, and amidst genuine dialogue filling the room, Tom understood that from once being an invisible janitor, someone defined by his facade, he was now recognized for his competence, fortitude, and relentless pursuit of truth and collaboration. Within that revelation, he felt solid confidence blossom inside of him. It was more than an acknowledgement from others, it was a profound internal shift. He now carried an established position in this company, an identity shaping him through each challenge met together. Days turned into weeks, and as Tom demonstrated continual growth, so too did the respect from the team. They faced adversity and celebrated triumphs that bound them tighter together. His thoughts wandered to Mia, the young girl whose unwavering belief had propelled him to explore his own potential. This new chapter unlocked not just professional success but personal fulfillment. Tom leaned back in his chair, reflecting on how far he had come. No longer just the janitor or even merely a leader, he had evolved into an advocate for trust and connection, exhibiting balanced strength that resonated beyond corporate walls. And then, that thought sparked a desire within him. He would share this narrative, an insight meant for others who sat on the sidelines, wishing to transform their lives as he had. Today, he was not bound by visibility alone, he owned his story, ready to inspire those still behind the shadows. His final undertaking began now, channeling his experiences through a blog dedicated to personal growth in the workplace. This was his new calling, and it ignited a fire within him. As possibilities unfolded before him, he sensed the undeniable truth of his journey. He had conquered uncertainties, emerged from the shadows of doubt, and achieved a level of personal recognition he had only dreamt of. What lay ahead was not merely a continuation, it was an opportunity to guide others towards their own transformations. In this moment of profound realization, Tom understood that true achievement emerged from facing vulnerability, and he now had the tools to lead others through their own journeys. His story had the power to inspire, and now he was ready to share that narrative with the world. You need to subscribe now to the channel to follow Tom's continuing journey and not miss out on these incredible personal stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help these transformative experiences reach those who need them the most. Comment your thoughts on Tom's amazing transformation, what resonated with you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second, let us spread the message of personal overcoming together.